Israel's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich here, he's the guy really behind the entire settler movement. Very, very staunch, ultra-religious, Messianic Zionism. He believes that Israel has to have everything from the Nile to the Euphrates, the entire Middle East. And he went out and he started calling out German officials because of the fact that they stated that the West Bank shouldn't be annexed. And they called Netanyahu, and it was a big thing. And of course, he invoked the Holocaust because of it. So this was a really interesting, to say the least, correspondence between the two. Let me pull it up here. So this was stated yesterday. And basically, let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. So he was concerned, the federal chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, he was concerned, I'm deeply concerned about the developments in the Palestinian territories. In my phone call with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I made it clear there must be no de facto annexation of the West Bank. Doesn't really seem like anything that shocking to me. I think we've been hearing this a lot. It doesn't seem anything that shocking. Guess what? There already has been de facto annexation of the West Bank. The West Bank is annexed. It's already been de facto annexed. They're acting as if this is something in the future. It's already happened. So he goes then, and he quotes it, and he responds back, on the eve of Holocaust Remembrance Day, Israeli Holocaust Remembrance Day, the German chancellor should bow his head and apologize 1,000 times on behalf of Germany, rather than daring to preach morality to us how to conduct ourselves against the Nazis of our generation, who murdered, abused, and slaughtered and burned women, the elderly, children in the most horrific massacre perpetrated against the Jewish people since the terrible Holocaust. We will not accept instructions from hypocritical leaders in Europe, a continent that is once again losing its conscience and its ability to distinguish between good and evil. The fact that this man actually thinks he's good, genuinely, like mentally, he actually thinks he's on the right side of history, to me, just shocking. It really shows the psychopathy of these people. Mr. Chancellor, the days when Germans dictated to Jews where they were permitted or forbidden to live are over and shall not return. You will not force us into ghettos again, certainly not in our land. Our return to the land of Israel, our biblical and historical homeland, is the answer to anyone who tried or tries to destroy us. We do not apologize for it a single moment. I'm Israel Chai. That's what he posted, and it, so I mean, this is absolutely shocking. That I think what's most shocking is he actually thinks that he's on the right side of history. They actually call Palestinians Nazis and not recognize that they're extremists. I have a really hard time grasping that. To me, it makes absolutely no sense. Okay, but here's the thing with the Israeli settlers, is they are brainwashed from such a young age. This is a video that's pretty old now, and it's went viral repeatedly, of an Israeli settler father talking to his Israeli settler child about reading a children's book about settling Lebanon. I'll play it again. It's very short. Take a quick listen to this. And there's the children's book right there, and it's about settling Lebanon. It's very beautiful. So I mean, the thing is, this is entire Israeli society. This is what they do. And Bezalel Smotrich, she's just a reflection of that. This is how they act. They truly believe that they are destined for the entire land. And right now, what I find, what's so interesting is they're willing to call out European officials. They don't like Europe at all. I mean, if you're following what's going on in Israel, this is what I find. This is what I really, really don't understand, why we see European officials support Israel to this degree. Because here's the thing. If you follow Israeli news, if you follow what Israelis say, in my comment section as well, if you follow what they say online, whenever somebody starts talking about the Palestinians, whenever somebody starts talking about Gaza, the occupied West Bank, you know how they always respond? Why don't we just send them to London? Why don't we just send them to Belgium? Why don't we just send them to Germany? Why don't we just send them to Italy, to Spain? If Spain likes the Palestinians so much, why don't they take all the Palestinians in Gaza? This is what they say. They're like, why don't you guys just deal with them? Why don't you guys just take them? For countries in Europe that are so against immigration, that are so concerned with the fact that their demographics are changing, with a country where the far-right movement is growing, and basically every single European country, we're seeing a massive shift to the far right, where this is all happening because of a massive change in demographics, you would assume that those countries wouldn't support the country that's sending the migrants their way. So this is what I don't get. Why do we have hardline right-wing officials that support Israel when Israel is causing the exact problem that they don't want? It boggles my mind. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense until you start to factor the fact that Israel really is an extension and also massively influences and kind of leads the direction of the United States, which is the global superpower. And what seems to be happening, and the way I kind of interpret it, because I can't think of any other reason, is because the United States is the global superpower, and these right-wing politicians in Europe want to be allied with the global superpower, and they want more power, and they want to have strong countries, then what they assume is that by aligning with Israel, they will end up having stronger countries, and that's how they can have proximity to the United States, because Israel is the doorstep to the United States. If Israel doesn't like you, the United States doesn't like you. We saw this exact same thing. It's happening right now, playing out right now when it comes to Spain. Israel doesn't like Spain. The United States doesn't like Spain. That's exactly how it works out. That's what I understand. That's starting to change, though. Recently, Germany's far-right party, the AfD party, and this was pretty shocking, after Spain announced that they're not going to be allowing U.S. forces to use their bases and whatever else, after that happened, the Germans started to recognize, wait a second, Spain is allowed to go through the Strait of Hormuz. They're not having this massive energy crisis because they're warming relationships with Iran. It seems like what they're doing is actually working out. Why don't we actually kick out American troops? Why don't we, weaken our relationships with the United States so that way we can keep getting the oil that we need from Iran or from the Gulf without, crossing through the Strait of Hormuz? This was Germany's far-right party. So we're seeing this massive shift in the far right, while at the same time we're seeing them start to distance from the United States to some degree because they recognize the volatility of the United States. So we have that. But right now, what we're starting to see is these psycho settlers, while this is all happening, are still pushing for the ethnic cleansing, still pushing for the mass expulsion of Palestinians from their land. Personally, I don't think it's going to work. I think a lot of people say that I'm too optimistic. Where things seem to be headed, and I'll exclusively talk about the West Bank first, and then we could talk about Gaza. What's happening in the West Bank right now, and I have family there, and I talk about it a lot, is they're internally displacing them. So Bedouins and people that live more in on the outskirts of the West Bank that have goats and sheep, and they're herders, and they don't really have it's more so just like herding families, kind of like far out, very analogous to, I guess, like hillbillies in the United States, very kind of analogous to farmers that live far out in the middle of nowhere. Those ones are being displaced. The settlers are displacing the ones that live in their own land far off outside of the cities, and they're pushing them out. And where are they going? Well, if they're displacing the Palestinians that live far out in the, far out of the city, they're displacing them to the city. So then those Palestinians leave to the city. So there's internal displacement now, where the Palestinians that live in the outskirts, the Palestinians that live on a massive field, they're getting pushed into Palestinian cities like Nablus, like Ramallah. So we're seeing massive internal displacement. There hasn't been mass expulsion yet because one thing is, where are they going to bring them? Where are they going to send them? The West Bank is not Gaza. Gaza is very flat. Gaza is very flat. The West Bank is not flat at all. Why does that matter? It matters, it makes a big deal when you start to think about the fact that in order to mass expel a people, you have to be able to do it topographically. How are you going to push them out when there's valleys and mountains everywhere? It's going to be very difficult to do it all at once. You might be able to do it in chunks, which is what they'd like to do, but Jordan already stated that they're not going to take them in, and it's going to destabilize Jordan sending 3 million Palestinians there. So what are you going to do? Here, let me go ahead and show you guys a topographic map of Israel so you guys can kind of see what I mean here. Here's a map of Israel. Here's a map, and you could see the mountain ranges. So the entire West Bank is the entire mountain range. The West Bank is basically just a mountainous area. That is the West Bank. So when they talk about internally displacing them, where do they plan to send them? Where do they plan to send them? They have no idea in mind. They have no idea in mind. So basically, that leaves a few things, which is what we're starting to see. There's really three options for the future. One is de jure apartheid, meaning legalized apartheid in Israel. Right now, Israel has apartheid in the West Bank. It's de facto, meaning Israel hasn't said, yes, this is apartheid. They're still trying to hide the fact that it is. That's the first ultimate end of this, which is already happening. But apartheid isn't an end. It's kind of something that's going to happen after apartheid. Apartheid doesn't last forever. It's just not feasible. But the first thing that's going to happen is apartheid. What's the other thing? Well, genocide. They've already done it in Gaza. They don't know what to do with the Palestinians in the West Bank. If they can't push them out, then they're going to genocide them because they want to get rid of them. They want the land. They don't want the Palestinians. And the third thing is mass expulsion. So it's either apartheid, genocide, or mass expulsion. And the mass expulsion one's going to be very difficult because where are they going to send them? To Lebanon? No. Southern Lebanon, they've already started occupying now. To Jordan? No. Israel can't have it in Jordan either because you send 3 million Palestinians there. There are already 2 million Palestinians displaced living in Jordan. You destabilize the whole country, the whole entire country. And they need that buffer zone for now. So what's the other option? Syria? They've already started eyeing Syria, thinking about it, because the new president would probably subjugate and go ahead with it. How are they going to go about doing that without the global international condemnation? If something like that were to happen, what you would start to see immediately is actual action against Israel. I think that would be a massive red line. And that wouldn't happen alongside the fall of the American empire, because that's where we're headed right now. The American empire fell when this war with Iran started. It fractured it. It basically was basically the step that's going to lead to the decay of the American empire. We're starting to see it because we're seeing a shift towards China. So if the United States is not going to have the same power that it does right now, and Israel tries to do something like this, how is it going to work out? How is it going to work out? What kind of, what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to take action against countries that start to do it collectively? Orban left in the EU. So we're going to start to see European Union start to take a little bit more action when it at least comes to sanctioning violent settlers. Certainly mass expulsion is just, I don't think it's going to work. I think they'll do it in chunks and they'll do it in pieces. But they're not going to be able to do it the same way because ultimately, and they recognize that too, because of the fact it's all mountains, they just want to put them in smaller valleys. So that's where we're headed. And while this is all happening, these Israeli finance ministers, Ben-Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, they're still playing victim with German politicians. Something that happened 80-some years ago now is being used as justification for violence against another group of people that's happening right now as we speak. So, anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you found it interesting, I'd appreciate it if you just click the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up as well. Also, if you haven't yet, definitely join as a member if you want to see more of my videos. Just click the join button next to the subscribe button. It's pretty cool. You get to use those emojis you see in the chat sometimes with other members that are joining. You'll see that some cool emojis that I put in there. So definitely join as a member if you haven't yet. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and have a great day.